Welcome to a Fantasy Fan Sportscast with Easy and Lou Landers. Now enjoy the show, but don't forget our safe word.
And welcome. You got me there, Lou?
I got you. I have a question. What is our safe word?
I don't know. I might have to ask her. I just something happened weird in one of my ears. I think I had an ear go out. But welcome to a Fantasy Fan Sportscast, easy on a Sunday morning with my host Lou Landers from Landers Talks. I'm going to have to try to get that right. And the First and Goal podcast out there at the Lenny Melnick FantasySports.com website. Lou, I've had a very busy morning trying to get ready for this and get ready for football and Taco Bar Sunday at my house for fantasy, watching all the games. What have you been doing there on the West Coast?
What have I been doing? You know what I've been doing is going over my DFS lineups last minute, making sure everyone's healthy. I've been going through the injury reports. Some I wasn't aware of, some I was, but those are good things to know for sure. And one I was not aware of, right off the top here, easy, is Anthony Miller, the wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. Not sure, if he was in a lot of people's season-long lineups, but his absence does bode well for Allen Robinson and Trey Burton this week, I believe. I already like those guys going up against the Buccaneers defense.
What about Coleman? Do you think it helps Coleman?
Coleman.
Yeah, they're catching running back, isn't?
Cohen. Yeah,
Cohen. Sorry, I'm Coleman. Trust me, I got 9 lineups in my head. Cohen.
I already liked all of the Bears players this week because the Bucs have been getting torched. They've won games and they're putting up a lot of points, but they're giving up a lot of points. And with Anthony Miller out, and I mean, he was probably 4th or 5th on my list of all those players, but it just means more target shares, in my opinion, for Robinson, for Burton. I think Howard's going to have a heavy workload, especially if they go up. And Cohen's always an interesting play, especially in PPR formats. There's certain teams where, you still don't have a feel for their target share in the backfield, though. Cohen might get, 10, 12 touches and have a great day. Cohen might carry the ball twice, catch the ball 3 times, and be a bust for you. Whereas Howard, Robinson, and Burton, to me, are definitely safe plays this week.
Well, then I'm going to throw out a start-sit question, which is what we're based on Sunday mornings, right off the get-go, though. Now that you bring that up, I played Kyle Rudolph in my tight end, but I do have Trey Burton. So obviously I have a flex. I've gone back and forth. I have Sammy Watkins in my flex. Obviously my other options were Trey Burton and Duke Johnson. Do you think Trey Burton in a PPR sees more catches? I think Sammy Watkins is more of a couple of catches, one big play if you get a lot out of him. Out of those 3, who do you start?
Duke Johnson definitely out for me, for sure. I wouldn't have him in consideration with those 3 guys.
He was my 3rd.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends if you're looking for the big game or the constant, because I do think that Watkins has shown the past 2 weeks that he can be a big factor in this Chiefs offense, even with Kelsey, even with Tyreek Hill, even with Kareem Hunt, because of how much they spread the ball around, because of how well Pat Mahomes is playing. I think Watkins is the safe pick. I think that people still overrate that Broncos defense because they think of the team, a year, 2, 3 years ago. Secondary is not the same as it was, even in Denver. So I do like Sammy Watkins, but I do think if you weren't in the position you are where you already had a tight end in there in Rudolph, I would suggest putting in Burton if you have him at tight end this week. I do think this is going to be his game to shine. I think this is Trubisky's game to shine as well. It's the first time we're going to see Trubisky put up legitimate numbers.
Where would you draw the line in tight ends? Where as far as where you put Burton, in starting tight ends today? Then, I mean, where would you say now I would start? Like, again, I started Rudolph, but I didn't know about the injury at this point. But I'm just kind of curious, where are you putting Burton, 8th, 9th, if we start talking top 12?
He's definitely top 10 to me this week against the Bucs.
All right. So for a lot of people would definitely be the starter if you happen to have him. What's nice about him, he's a good pickup. I had him originally as my backup for Reed. in case Reed got hurt.
Well, yeah, you always have to have a backup for Reed.
Right, I know. But then in my case, Reed just happened to be on a bye this week. But then I ended up moving Reed and somebody else and got Burton back. So Burton's now my backup. I have Burton and Rudolph, which to me are not streamers, but they're a good combination, I thought. So
yeah, it's good to play the matchups. And on paper, the matchup for Rudolph was not as good as the one for Burton. But we saw in that short week on Thursday night, neither defense really stepped up. It was an offensive showcase.
Yeah, so, I got 10 points out of him without a touchdown. I actually was happy with that as a tight end. But
definitely, I mean, if you don't own an Ertz, a Kelsey, a Gronk type tight end at this point,
then 10 points,
10 points is solid.
Oh yeah, I agree. Another sit-start question I had that someone actually sent me last night, and I'll tell you, I'll get your answer first, and then I'll see if the fantasy fan was close enough. And that was Sony Michel, and I had it on the tip of my tongue. Sony Michel and Fournette. I know Fournette is just now getting in. The issue was this guy was already down 85 points because he played against a bunch of people from Thursday night. I'm just curious, knowing that, where would you tell somebody to go?
Well, the fact that Fournette is active this week makes me want to lean towards him because that Jacksonville offense,
okay.
I mean, yeah, they have some playmakers with Cole and Westbrook and so on, but this isn't a team that's going to rely on Blake Bortles to win them a lot of games. You saw last week, only 6 points at home versus the Titans. They missed Leonard Fournette. So I would be willing to say Fournette is the answer, but at the same time, I like Sony Michel a lot this week. Right. I think Fournette's the safe play because he's been there, done that. He's established he is the cornerstone of that offense.
You just said it. To me, he's the safe play. But if I'm down 80, Sony Michel's the guy who could get 35 today. I think Fournette could be on I don't think Fournette's going to get 35 because I think he's going to be limited a little bit and will require multiple touchdowns to get that. Or I think Sony Michel could touch the ball 30 damn times today. So I said if I was down 80, I'm starting the upside of Sony Michel over the comfortable number of Fournette. Well,
you got nothing to lose if you're down 80 points. So, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, but to me, those are the things you think of. I overthink everything, but to me, that's how you have to think it. Give me all the high upside. And because, there's a shot. Both of them only get you 10 points. Fournette maybe doesn't play after the first quarter. Sony Michel fumbles, and doesn't play either. I mean, there's always that option. But if they both play a full game, I still think Fournette would be more limited. So I'll be curious on that. So that was a start-sit question I had. People in the chat room, you have questions or anything, let us know. We are live on YouTube.
From that guy, and that guy was awesome to have on
the round
table last week. I assume we'll be having that again Tuesday at, I believe, 10 p.m. Eastern for that round table. So come check that out, everybody. No promises I'll be on it this week. Got a lot going on, but I will certainly try. But he wants to know. So right now he has John Ross in his lineup, but would we rather start Alshon Jeffrey in a PPR league? I mean, I kind of would say go with Jeffrey. I know he hasn't played yet, but him and Carson Wentz did a lot of good stuff together last year. Wentz shook off the rust in his first start last week. I expect him to come back and be better. I don't know how much I trust John Ross in general because I think that a lot of that action is going to go to Gio Bernard. I think if you heard me on the First and Goal podcast yesterday, the Falcons have been getting destroyed by running backs in the passing game. So Gio Bernard is a huge play there. And AJ Green and Boyd are the ones to me that are going to get most of the targets. So I'd go with Alshon Jeffrey. And another one is the Cards defense or the Pats defense. I think I would go with the Cards defense because the Patriots defense has not been good, and none of the Cards has been, but Seattle is going to Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. Seattle, good team at home. On the road, they've been pedestrian at best.
Right. It is in Arizona.
Yeah. I don't love either defense, but I do think that the Cards defense is better. What are your thoughts on the Ross and the Alshon discussion?
You know me. I got a Bengals hat here somewhere. Bengals, but I'm not playing. Ross is going to have to prove it to me, and maybe more than one game. Right now Boyd is there. Boyd is definitely the number 2. Tyler Eifert is healthy. Again, Bernard's there. They do have that rookie running back. He's going to see a little bit of a play, I bet, today.
Between the tackles, probably, I would imagine so. There's another one. Andy Dalton. So why does ESPN think I should start Andy Dalton over Matt Ryan? That's an interesting question. They're facing head to head. I honestly don't think there's a better play between those two quarterbacks. I think they're both in for a great day. They both have great weapons. They both also are dealing with, on the Cincy side, Joe Mixon's out. On the Falcons side, Devonta Freeman's out. So it's going to be a lot of Bernard and a lot of Tevin Coleman. But both teams have, that superstar receiver with Green and Julio. Both teams have up-and-coming young receivers with Ridley and with Boyd. I really don't think you can go bad or good either way. I think they're both going to be very close.
That's the flipper. Get out of corner. Get out of corner. Flip a coin.
Yeah. I just trust your gut. To me, now the problem for me is that I've never been an Andy Dalton guy myself, and I know he has great games. I know you're a Bengals guy, so you might.
Right, but I'm not an Andy Dalton guy.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not.
So to me, when I look at games, whether I'm picking a winner, whatever it might be, guy versus guy, I'm going with the home team, the home quarterback, and that's Matt Ryan this week.
Okay. And maybe it's good that we disagree sometimes a little bit. I'm definitely a coin flip here. I don't think you're going to make a wrong decision. So obviously it's one that'll kick you and, you'll get mad, and as a fantasy person, I always tell people, you can't get mad at these. You just have to pick.
Yeah. And you know what, Easy? The only time it's really going to hurt you in this situation is if you end up losing by, 3 to 5 points and Dalton ends up putting up 3 to 5 more points than Matt.
Right. But I guess I'm thinking, maybe it's the Bengals fan, I just think the Bengals are going to be ahead and Ryan's maybe going to have to pass a lot more. I think you could see Ryan getting 15 of his 30 points in the last, in the fourth quarter, last 10 minutes. So that's my thing. I think they're going to pass a lot at the end of the game because I think this favors the Bengals being in the lead. To me, it's a coin flip. Again, being an overthinker, being a coin flip, those are the kind of things that I'll put in play, which is I'll maybe take the junk over the guy who's probably going to be in the lead. Just they hand off, the second half of the game if they're way in the lead, where Atlanta could be passing the ball. So kind of where I lean, but I don't think you go wrong either way. So that would be my start sit. Defense wise, you know what? Defense aggravates me more than just about any of them because
you know what? My recommendation there would be don't carry two defenses.
Oh, exactly. Okay. You know what? You win. There you go. That's why you're the expert.
The only time you ever need defenses is if you have an elite one and they're on a bye week and you just don't want to drop them. That's the only time you should ever have.
I agree. But it's that guy, that guy. You can't ever trust that guy over there. And he is, I'm a little upset that guy gave away, our safe word is banana. And I don't think he realizes that's just me and his safe word. So, I don't use the same safe word with everybody. So, the safe word to me is pretty private. So I'm a little disappointed he threw that out there, but banana, that guy. So as far as any early morning, as far as actives or inactives, anybody else that you did not expect to hear or see this morning?
Well, so far, no, because I expected Devonta Freeman to be out. I expected
Marlon Mack to play. I don't think Marlon Mack is a starter, but I thought he would play, and he's obviously out.
If people do want a potential big play guy at the tight end position this week, it is confirmed that Jack Doyle is out again.
Okay.
That means Eric Ebron's going to see a lot of action. Will he do a lot with it? That is yet to be determined. But last week with Doyle out, Ebron saw 11 or 12 targets. So there is the potential for a big play. He also had touchdowns in each of the first 2 weeks when Doyle was in. So Ebron could be an interesting play from a daily standpoint or in a season long if you don't have a tight end that you really trust. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. Darren Sproles is out for the Philadelphia Eagles. So that bodes well if you have Ajayi or Clement. Even Wendell Smallwood has the potential.
Isn't Devontae Parker now out? I'm not a fan. I don't have I don't follow him, but I think Devontae Parker's now inactive.
Devontae Parker might be inactive. Actually, Corey Clement is I think inactive actually this week as well. So that really Wendell Smallwood could be a very, very nice play for people out there this week. Of course, Jai is still the main back there, but Wendell Smallwood has a chance to get all the Sproles and Clement touches.
And then also, I guess, obviously the starts are actives this week with Jeffries and Gordon. Those are obviously two big people. Are you one of those? Are you on the Gordon team? Are you Team Gordon? Are you going to play him if you have him?
I'm not playing Josh Gordon yet. He needs to show me what he can do in one full week with the New England Patriots, because even an active Josh Gordon, that's great, but how many snaps does he see? How many targets does he get being the newcomer? That's something I wouldn't want to take a risk on just yet. This just in, Randall Cobb is inactive this week for the Green Bay Packers. If you have Randall Cobb, definitely get him out. That certainly bodes well for those who have Geronimo Allison. If Allison's on your bench, time to get him into your lineup, in my opinion, this week.
I got Cobb starting somewhere. I'm going to have to go hunt him down now when we get done. Because I've got one of those teams where I've got multiple. It was one of those teams that I drafted Ingram and Edelman because I struggled at the beginning. I thought, well, I'm going to have to come on strong at the end. And now I've got other injuries. So Cobb was one of my few starters at the point that I had.
I have Cobb on 3 teams. I think I only had him starting in one league, but I just had to, take him, get him right out of the lineup there because he is officially out.
What do you think? And I'm going to go DFS on you then. When Cobb's out, a little bit I've heard is that Ty Montgomery actually benefits more than other people in the past. Now, I know in the past he's been a wide receiver and a running back, and now he's kind of just a running back. Do you think Ty Montgomery maybe in DFS would be a little hidden player there now with Cobb being out?
No, I still think that Allison and Devontae Adams, Jimmy Graham are going to get a lot of the looks there. And that I don't trust any of the Packers running backs right now because they have 3 of them. They haven't seemed to want to commit to just one. I have heard that Aaron Jones is going to be the guy to see most of the workload this weekend, but that could change after one carry. Right. Jones fumbles or loses a couple yards, and that could change. So would you play Allison over Doug Baldwin or Kenny Golladay in a tough matchup from guest Sammy?
I'd take Baldwin out of that combination, even though he's been hurt. I'm one of those that believe that too, especially, people you're drafting in the top 4 or 5 rounds, 3rd round, and Baldwin, some places went 2nd round. I'm playing him if they're playing him.
Yeah, I can see that. I have no issues with Baldwin, but right now I'm starting Kenny Golladay every week if I own him. He's been that good. The Lions have a great passing attack. Golladay is proven to be ahead of Marvin Jones in the pecking order right now, even with Marvin Jones' solid play this year. I think the Cowboys are going to focus in a lot on Golden Tate. And I think that both Jones and Golladay are going to have good games because of that. I actually just picked up Wendell Smallwood as we're on air right now to replace Randall Cobb this week. I moved Cobb to an IR spot now that he's out, grabbed Wendell Smallwood, put him in the flex. We'll see how that goes.
He is actually available in my league also this morning. I did look that up also. I just don't have anybody to drop it. I wouldn't play him. I double checked. He just wouldn't fit in my lineup at this time, but in the one I have, but I'll have to double check. So we didn't help anybody on that question other than, Baldwin or Golladay.
I don't think you're going to go wrong either way.
I agree.
I don't love going with guys that are making, just coming back now. Exactly. I mean, I've heard a lot of talk about Baldwin simply being inserted in the lineup as a decoy, to run routes, to take, because I think he's also potentially being rushed back. He was expected to miss a lot more time than this. So I'd want to see how he looks before I go with him.
You made me change my mind. Banana.
When he's in. So you never know. Golladay to me has just been too good this year to not have him in your lineup.
Right. And I actually picked up Marvin Jones in a trade. He was a second, he was, not a throw in, we had to work the trade quite a bit, but because I just think now he's their, a little bit of their tight end zone guy now. And I think, I think he'll be okay. If Stafford's on, I don't think you can start all three of those wide receivers. And obviously even this week, the offense is going to go. So I'd be fine with that. So,
and in case you were wondering, I don't think it was ever in doubt, but Aaron Rodgers is active this week. Another guy that was totally up in the air, LaShawn McCoy. He is active this week. He's expected to see a lot of action. Green Bay is in the bottom 6 of the league this year in rushing defense. They're allowing 124 yards per game on the ground. So it looks to me like McCoy could be in for a big day if, of course, the rib injury does hold up.
All right, I'm just checking on my lineups to make sure I play Cubub today, and I'll make sure I'm not. Now, see, I do have now again a start sit. I've got Baldwin sitting, but the and I put in Tevin Coleman, even though Freeman's out, so Coleman's now definitely okay. So Coleman would be the better play there.
Coleman's starting.
Oh yeah, that's right. So he's the starter. The Fitzpatrick. He's in, I know, but obviously a new quarterback, young quarterback, and he has been somewhat hurt. Is that somebody? I think right now, even though he's got a name that comes with him, I think a lot of people still have a lot of options if you have him on your team. Would you start him over, let's say Galladay Baldwin? Would you start Fitzpatrick or Fitzgerald? I got to get my Fitzes correct.
Oh yeah, Larry Fitzgerald.
I screwed that up last week. I get my Fitz.
I don't think I would over those guys. I don't mind having Larry Fitzgerald though, because you look there, Rosen making his first start. Young quarterbacks typically latch on to veterans.
Sure, I'd play.
And Larry, to me, although he plays wide receiver, is really used very much so in the slot and as a tight end. They did it a lot last year too. He runs a lot of the tight end routes. He runs a lot of the safe routes nowadays. I think it's going to be a ton of Larry and a ton of David Johnson there in Arizona with Rosen at quarterback. So I'd be comfortable starting Larry for sure. Not necessarily over a guy like Galladay, though.
Okay. All right. Just get an idea where you.
And a lot of people would probably disagree because they have the name of Larry Fitzgerald, where they took him in the draft. They think he's a must start. And if you have a spot for him, absolutely. But in fantasy football, you go with the best player at this time, not guys with the name.
Right.
I agree. I don't want you to draft them.
I was messing with a trade all week that ended up not working out at all. But the real kicker came originally. I was going to take Fitzgerald for Callaway from the Browns. And then I did a little more research, and I actually think Callaway could be a better in the long run than Fitzgerald. So
Callaway, I think, and Landry, both Browns number 1 and 2 wide receivers, have a significant uptick in value.
I agree. I want to wait and see what Baker does. I did, I killed the trade, at that point, and I'm kind of curious what he's going to do. So it should be exciting. Did you see in the chat room that guy had a DFS question?
I wrote it. I wrote it in there. He asked about stacking the New York Giants with Eli, OBJ. And yes, I like the Giants stack this week because of the Saints' porous defense and the Giants being at home. However, I'm not using Odell Beckham Jr. this week. I think I have him in one of my 6 or 7 lineups. I'm pivoting to Sterling Shepard in lineups.
I did the same.
Significantly cheaper than OBJ in the daily game. And with the New Orleans Saints, I just wrote this in the chat room, they have Marshawn Lattimore, really good shutdown corner. And typically their defense funnels to the wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3. That bodes very well for Sterling Shepard. You saw it happen last week with Calvin Ridley. I'm not saying Shepard's going to have 3 touchdowns like Ridley did last week, but that's kind of the way I would be rolling if I'm going, because you could also get Barkley involved in that stack if you go cheap with Shepard. If you go heavy with OBJ, it's going to hurt you in other positions, and Shepard could put up just as many points, if not more. Similar thing to what I'm doing with the Bengals. I have Boyd in a lot of places. I only have AJ Green in one.
Okay. Start sit question. Tannehill or Eli Manning?
This week, I think I'd actually go with Eli Manning.
And that was my answer.
And that's nothing against Tannehill.
I agree. I think it's another coin flip, actually, but
or the New England defense, because New England's defense is not good.
Right.
But I think you're going to see a lot of Kenyon Drake this week for the Dolphins. And I also think that Eli's poised to have a very good game. I think Tannehill can still put up 20-plus points for you. But Eli could have one of those 304 touchdown days against the Saints team. There's going to be a lot of points.
Right. I agree. And like I said, I put a couple Giants. I built two. I went way out today on DFS. You guys got me all excited.
That's double. That's double the production.
But the odd thing is they're both Bengals stacks. So I didn't change my overall strategy at all here. It's just I mixed up the people I put in there. One lineup ended up with Thomas, where the other lineup, I end up going with like Elliott, Zeke. I think Zeke could have a big day. So I just mixed up my extra, the other people. The Bengals are all in there, are all the same. And then on one, I actually took Tyler Eifert out and stuck in Harper. Though I was able to work. Eifert was a tad more money than Harper, and I thought, if the Bengals are going to be in a shootout, I think Harper, the tight end for Atlanta, could even score 2. So I kind of switched him out to be able to, get Zeke Elliott in there and a couple other things. But yeah, I doubled. I went more out there. I've got my I've got my $20 riding. So if we'll see how my two Bengal stacks go.
This is the week for the Bengal stack if you're going to do it, and you do it.
Well, but the problem with that is, and I do listen enough and I've played enough to know that the problem with the scenario is everyone else is on them also. This isn't one of those weeks where I'm the only guy in the Bengals. There's weeks where no one would be on the Bengals, but I put my Bengals stack in so I can. And it's actually the one I'm probably more likely to win money on is, the week that everyone is like, the Bengals are going to not go off today, So, yeah.
So that guy asked the question about the Giant stack. He has, he has OBJ in there, but he also has Lamar Miller, Mike Evans, Tyler Boyd, Adams, Trey Burton, Cowboys defense. My suggestion to him was, instead of OBJ and Lamar Miller, go Shepard and Barkley, because the money you save from OBJ to
yeah, I see his lineup now.
You can go from Miller to Barkley.
Yeah, and you end up with
Barkley significantly better than what you're going to get from Lamar Miller week in and week out. And the difference between OBJ and Shepard this week might not be much. In fact, Shepard might outproduce him. So to me, if I can get wide receivers that are close and get the running back that is far superior, I'm going the Shepard and Barkley duo. To me, is much better than that of OBJ and Miller most weeks, but specifically this week.
And I know we're a start sit and we don't necessarily do DFS or anything like that this morning. But another thing I try to do on Sundays, and I'll ask you your opinion, is on Sunday mornings, I kind of look at non-starters, possible cut people. And then I look obviously on my, free agency people and see maybe who might be picked up next week. And I'll jump on them on I'd rather pick them up now than obviously use Fab or use my, waiver wire order. I'm just curious, we're maybe a couple of weeks from Foreman coming back as a running back. And I know he's available out there everywhere in most leagues. Is that somebody right now, with the way Lamar Miller's playing, is Foreman somebody that in the next week or two you'd look at picking up and maybe stashing? Could he be their running back the rest of the season?
I really don't think so, because Miller isn't an RB1, although sometimes he's drafted as one, but he is consistent. I'm not a Miller fan per se, but he's good for 10, 12 points a week for the most part. And I have heard that he and Watson have really good chemistry. And if Watson is healthy and playing quarterback for the Houston Texans, it's good to have the guy that he wants in there. It's good to have the guy that is probably a more proficient pass blocker than that of Foreman. Miller's been around a lot longer. I would say that.
But the end of last season, Foreman looked good.
He did. Do
you think if he doesn't get hurt that he couldn't? I really think if he didn't get hurt, he would have had a shot at being the starter.
I mean, it's possible, but again, I go with what I see and hear within the actual organization, what the players are saying. And if Deshaun Watson likes Lamar Miller, then the Texans are going to like Lamar Miller. And even with a very, very, very terrible rushing yards per attempt last week, he still caught 5 balls for 41 and had a touchdown.
He's just one of those guys out there that's IR eligible, and if you have IR spots, I just thought, well, hey, if you're messing around with your lineup,
it's not a terrible idea to grab Foreman, but Lamar Miller,
I know a lot of fantasy teams out there. Running back is where most people are weak. So if you can pick and stash somebody in a couple weeks, because I think he's eligible. Eligible in week 7. So in 3 weeks. So obviously it's not even necessarily a this week thing. And again, if you're in a league that's got 4 IR spots, maybe you can you move somebody around, but. That was just one that I noticed on a lot of waiver wires. Let's say if you're not going to play, back to the Smallwood. If Smallwood's available and Foreman, obviously if you're not starting either one of them, which one would you pick up?
Foreman.
Okay, because to me, Smallwood's a this week play right at the moment.
Smallwood's only a play if both Sproles and Clement are out, in my opinion. If just one of them's in, his production goes down at least half.
Right.
But for me, and I'm not a Lamar Miller guy. I made that so clear on pretty much all my podcasts. I do own him, unfortunately, on one team because there was just no running backs left, and it was snake draft. It wasn't auction, so I didn't have a choice. But he did average almost 4.9 yards per carry in week 1 and week 2, which is well above average in the NFL. Last week he struggled, but again, he made it up in the passing game, which is something he can do. He is an every down type of back. So he's one of those guys that if you can, you squeeze into your lineup every now and again. If he gets in the end zone, he could have a nice day for you. But for the daily game, I never go with him because I think
me neither. I don't think he's ever been in one of my.
What is 10, 12 points going to do for you in a large tournament? Nothing. You're looking for 20 plus points from almost all your players in those tournaments, and Miller's not a lock to do that. In season long, you can get 10, 12 points out of him every week. You're happy.
Right. What about, I know you said earlier about Duke Johnson. I do have one of my Bengal stacks, Duke Johnson, I have in there. Any other cheap running back maybe on DFS other than a Duke Johnson?
Well, Smallwood for sure, obviously.
That's true, would be available now.
Smallwood is definitely, let's see what he is. Smallwood is
I'm going to go
600 on DraftKings. So that's very cheap.
I have to get at it. I don't even know what I paid for Duke Johnson. I know he was the last little piece I put in there. Duke Johnson, what did I pay for him? I paid $39.
Okay, so Smallwood's $300 cheaper and probably going to see more action. Kerryon Johnson is just $4,400. He is going into Dallas. Dallas does not have Sean Lee this week. That's my dog barking. She's mad and wants to go outside, but I can't help you right now, Mick.
Right, we're going to try to end quicker than we did. We're getting here to the end. Now this is all about easy now. My Bengal stack is bringing in me some big bucks. You already gave that guy all this advice. I'm probably in a couple dollar, big tournaments where I'm going to take his dollar. But I'm looking in that 4,300. What about Eckler? A lot of people think Eckler could do something. Tariq Cohen is down there. We talked about him earlier in the show. Smallwood. So to me, those are all obviously, now that I think about it, probably better choices than Duke Johnson, which is back to if you play DFS, everyone thinks DFS football is easy because you set the lineup on Thursday and you don't have to worry about it anymore. But obviously, you have to be available Sunday morning to make some change.
No. You have to. You set it on. I set Thursday. I review Friday. I redo the lineups essentially Saturday, making moves, and then you have to check it today. You have to check it this morning. It's like if you're doing an MLB lineup, you can make it in the morning, but you can't finalize it until an hour before the games when all of the lineups come out. It's the same thing. It's just because football's not every single day, but essentially you have to do it in segments.
I'm going to go. Cohen rather than Smallwood. That's my answer. Just because the defenses, even though Smallwood I think will be used more, I think Cohen's better shot at getting a touchdown. That's it. I finalized. I'm out of here. Lou Stalks, Landers Stalks, Lander
we have it's Landers Talks or Lander Stalks, whichever one floats your boat. It's going to be the same result regardless.
Throw out everywhere you're at, because you're obviously everywhere right at the moment. Where can people find you? I'm sure they got a half hour. If you throw out your Twitter handle, people can ask you a question out there.
Well, of course, Landers Talks, Lander Stalks, Lou Landers on Facebook. You can find me at Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com. You can find me at thesportscrew.com, which will be becoming Lenny Melnick, fantasysports.com in the new year. Very excited about that, bringing all my content over there.
Right.
And you can also find me on SiriusXM Friday nights. I believe it is, you know what, I've never listened to myself on Sirius, so just give me 1 second. It is XM 203. I go to XM 203, Sirius 217, Friday evenings and early Saturday mornings if you are a late riser. I'm not a big enough star at this point to have a primetime spot, so I'm at night. It's called Sports Overnight America, but it's a hell of a lot of fun, so you can find me there too. But Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports is where you'll see me the most. I'm in the chat room pretty much all the time.
And that's where I'm at. So you people, everyone listening, I'm Easy Kill. You can find me on Twitter. I'm just, it's simple, at a fantasy fan, because that's all I am. On YouTube, all one word, at a fantasy fan. But like I said, thanks to Lenny and Andrea, you can catch me. Same thing. Wednesday night, I do a show with Chris Allen. Also now Sundays, and then Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. we do the roundup show, which was a blast. I talked for almost 2 hours. We had a great time. And I know that guy asked earlier. Yes, that guy, I penciled him in. I'll let him on the show. That's not a problem. I know this week we're definitely going to be talking Lenny Melnick people out there. I know the big topic that we've already discussed. We're going to talk about baseball rules, maybe what we'd like to see changed, what we wouldn't want to see changed. So that's going to be the main topic of the roundtable. So I really
want to be there now, man. I have so many thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, there you go.
So many thoughts on that.
Other than that, I got a taco bar to put together. I've got some DFS to finalize. I got to get Cobb out of my line. Much stuff to do. See, I'm going to be all serious on you. I won't use any
for more football talk. Of course, check out your shows. But Tuesday 9 a.m. in the Lenny Melnick FantasySports.com chat room, Mike Strome and I taking over that 9 a.m. slot for the Week 4 review. Of course, and then we also have our preview shows, which are now moving to Friday at 9 a.m. But next show for us, First and Goal, Tuesday, 9 a.m. So be there or be square.
Now I'll ask my own question. So the Saturday show is out now.
Saturday show moved to the Friday morning.
Okay. I'm making sure. So when I mow the grass, I won't be able to listen. So, all right. Well, guys, everybody, thank you for coming out. I have a blast. This is fun. It is frustrating to get prepared for because there's so much going on. But it is a blast to, chat for a little bit, about fantasy with you.
Go Dak Prescott today. He needs a big game or else he's going to be ridden out of Dallas.
I'm rocking the GOAT. I'm the GOAT fantasy, and they made fun of my goatee, so this is now the GOAT tee. They made fun of that in the podcast the other day.
I'm going to shave this off too, my man. It is so itchy and in my way.
Don't be afraid to
start a playoff beard. I got to start a playoff beard for the Yankees. Hopefully it lasts more than just a Wednesday. We'll have to see.
All right. And then I think, are you in the playoff league that we've started?
I am hosted by Cardinal Steve.
Yeah, and I don't know anything about it. I said,
I think it's last tomorrow night, though. We'll see how it goes. I think it's one of those leagues where it benefits you not always to take the best player, but to take the players you think are going to be around the longest, right? Because,
that's true. Okay, maybe we need to show.
I may have just given my strategy away to everybody, but like for me, Justin Verlander might be my top pick. I think the Astros can go back to the World Series.
That's right. They could go all the way, and obviously he's gonna. And to me, he's one of those people that even in they're going to start him early, and if they need to put him on 3 days rest, even you might see him again.
Exactly.
So I
there easy, but I'll let you go. You'll let me go. We got to do our own lineups now after helping the rest of the world.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Take care, everybody.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.